Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. I'm going to start today by pruning up my silver maple forest. This forest is very young, they're just seedlings, but I want to prune the basic structure to get them on track to eventually become a nice bonsai forest. Here's an overall look at the forest. Last year I arranged all these trees into this forest planting. My largest tree over on the left-hand side, creating an asymmetrical triangular silhouette to the forest. I pruned them all back hard and the new growth came in, so today I'm going to be pruning that new growth back. When I pruned the leader of these trees back, many of them grew a branch each side and they kind of look like someone with their hands in the air. So I'm going to be pruning it so it looks less symmetrical today, kind of fixing that up. I'm going to start by pruning up the main tree here. So I cut it here and I got 3 branches developed, which is pretty nice. There's one on the inside here. I don't think I want opposite branches like that when I have a leader here. So I'm going to take that one off on the inside, like that. My other branch here comes up and divides from 1 to 2. This is a nice flowing branch off to the right-hand side, but the one off to the left is kind of awkward. It almost grows back in towards the tree. I'm going to remove that totally. So off that comes. There's a leaf here I can remove, an old leaf. And then my leader of the tree, the tallest point is here, and this branch is growing even stronger off to the side. So I'm going to prune it back. I've got nodes or leaf buds back here, and I've got leaf buds here. So I'm going to take it off, developing these buds. So I'm going to prune it about halfway between these leaf nodes. There. Down lower on the tree, I've got some branches down here. I'm going to just prune them off short to there and to here. Like that. And that's got the main tree all pruned up. I'm going to prune up these 2 trees on the left-hand side first. So I've got, the tree comes up, I pruned it off and it divided into 2. I've got a strong shoot coming off to the left-hand side, and this one kind of comes close to the tree beside it. So I don't think I want that one. So I'm going to take that one off totally, like that. I'm going to clean up that stub there, but I'm just going to prune the height down too. So I'm going to go right down. There's some buds here, so I'll prune it off to here. Now let's get that stub cleaned up. So I will come in and I'll prune it off. I'll just rough cut it first. And again, and now I'll come in and do my final cut, which will be right there. Now next I'll do the tree beside it here. So it comes up, divides into 2. Again, this one's kind of growing up the inside of the forest, but it's not bad. I think I'm just going to prune it back. There's some buds here. I'll take it off there. And this one on the outside, I think I'm going to prune it off here. We'll see how that develops. I will have to take out this dead portion up the middle here. So I will get out the pruners and just nibble it down. There, that looks good. The next tree I'll be pruning up is this one right here. It has a lot of branches, which is nice. There's no right or wrong way of pruning up these trees. It's just whatever appeals to you. So I'm just going to prune them back shorter. There's some buds here. I'll take it back to here. This one back to here. The tall leader, I don't want it as tall as the main tree, so I'm going to take it back to here. And there's some branches here I can take back. And I think that's about it. All the other little branches can grow. Now I do have opposite branches here. I should get rid of that one up the middle. Like that. This one's actually opposite here too. I'll take out the middle one. There. So that's got that tree pruned up. You don't want branches opposite each other, otherwise it'll thicken up in this section. Now I can clean up the stub where I pruned it last time too. like that. And that'll get that maple tree underway. All right, the next tree is this one here. I've got a nice branch here. I'll just prune it back. One here and then double one up top. So I'll prune off the one on the inside short and this one a little taller to here. Then I'll clean up that stub. And I'll try and get right in here. And from this side, it's a little tricky. There. And that's got that tree underway. So this forest, I'll probably let it grow for most of the year unless it gets really out of control. You know, just pruning it hard once a year until it develops further and gets more branches. And then, you know, it'll take more pruning as this forest develops more. So I'm going to do this tree next. I've got a strong leader coming up here. So I'll prune that back. I want it to be a little shorter, so I'm going to go, there's some buds down here. I'm going to go right back to here. This one I'm going to take off short to here. One up the back, off to here. And then I'll clean up that pruning stub. Okay. There, like that. This tree over here I want even shorter, so I've got some buds down low. I'll prune this off here. This leader I'll prune off to here, and then I'll clean up that pruning stub. I better do the one here too. Clean that up a bit. And the one back here. Okay, that looks good. I'm standing back having an overall look at the forest. I notice these two trees here are about the same height. So I think I've got to take this one down further just to kind of give that asymmetrical triangular silhouette to the forest. So I'm going to take it off to these lower branches here. So here I go. Like that. So that looks much better. Yeah, I think all is looking good in the forest. It looks quite natural. It doesn't look too contrived. The spacing's good. They should grow well this year. Let's fly in and have a look at the forest now. So there it is. I mean, it's not much yet. Just a bunch of sticks, but these sticks will eventually turn into beautiful maple trees with branches and canopies. So there's what I took off today. Not a whole lot, just all the long shoots from last year. Yeah, so we just got to wait, see how they grow this year, and do more pruning when required. The silver maple is one of the native Canadian maples, and they're very hardy. So I put the forest back into the poly house to keep it cool until the real spring arrives. I just don't have room for it in this warmer greenhouse. I have the forest just growing in a seed tray, and I find these big seed trays are just perfect for starting forest, kind of laying them out, getting the roots going, and finding that relationship between all the trees. And then, you know, as they develop into something really nice, you can put them in a larger bonsai pot. But the seed trays will do you for many, many years of developing your forest into something quite spectacular. The next tree I'll be working on today is a field maple, and this tree was given to me by David from the Toronto Bonsai Society. Here's a look at the field maple. I've already pruned it up, so all I need to do today is sort out the roots and repot it into a larger pot. All right, I'll get the tree out of the pot. I'll just kind of squeeze it a bit, loosen it up. And I don't know if I can Looks like the roots have grown down through the drainage holes here. I may have to... I think I'm going to have to cut those away. Otherwise the tree will never come out of the pot. Like that. Okay. Now let's see if the tree will come out of the pot. It's coming. There it goes. So it looks like there's a nice even distribution of roots in there. They've filled the pot. It's not too root bound. Perfect. All right, let's get the roots combed out. All right, I'll begin the combing of the root system. Starting from the center of the tree, combing outwards. And we'll see what kind of a root system we have. Looks like the seedling's growing in nice bonsai soil, so that should help us out. It should have a nice fine kind of root system full of feeder roots. I'm sure there'll be some thicker ones in there too, but all these fine feeder roots help to ensure the survival of the tree. Although I'm sure I'll rake a lot of them away. So maples are kind of like the ficus. You want a nice root system on them. It's one of the focal points of a maple tree is those nice buttressed roots. Nice flowing root structure coming from the base of the tree. So yeah, you don't see too many maple bonsai that don't have a good root system. It's kind of like one of the main features of the tree. I mean, you see them with poor root systems, but usually they're on display, like all your surface roots and that. So it's growing quite close to the edge of the pot here, so there's not going to be a lot of radial roots on the one side. Okay, so that's got a lot of the surface roots kind of combed out. I think we better start on the bottom now. And this is where there may be a little more coarser roots. So there's some gravel on the bottom. Drainage layer. Not the easiest to comb out. So these field maples can make beautiful bonsai. They have nice small leaves. They're hardy. Yeah, they make quite a nice tree. And they're a lot cheaper than buying a Japanese maple. And you can often find them planted as city street trees, so you can find the keys on them and just plant them right from seed. And they'll grow fantastic for you. Okay, so got quite a fine root system on this tree. Several layers of roots. Hard to see what's going on. So there's a lot of thick roots down at the bottom that are going to have to come off. I'll see if I can comb it out a little better. Get some of the rocks out. Yeah, so there's kind of the base of the tree down here, which is probably where I will start my root base, down at this level here. There seems to be a lot of nice radial roots, whereas all the roots up above it are just little fine roots. So let's get rid of those fine roots first. Let's prune these off. They're way too high on the tree. I pruned off a lot of the roots that were too high in the root base. My root base level will be down here. That's where most of the major roots start. I get a little extra trunk height and it tapers nicely all the way down to this root base here. So that's pretty good. It's a good start for a radial root system. I had to cut off one big root here. It was growing out sideways and curling upwards. So I just cut it off on an angle. That was this root here. Quite a, it was sticking up like that. So that had to come off. So I'm going to clean up, wash my roots, and then we'll come back for the root pruning. All right, I'll give the root system a wash. I managed to collect 100 liters of water yesterday, or 25 gallons. And that's just from the snow melting on the roof of the house. So that was pretty good. Enough to fill up the barrel in my plant room, get everything watered outside and indoors. Okay, so that's got the root system cleaned up. Let's begin the root pruning now. So speaking of roots that stick up, there's another one here that it kind of goes up. I mean, it's not the worst in the world, but it doesn't flow down nice into the soil, so I've got to remove it. So here I go. Like that. That one's gone. I could prune this one back a bit further. Like that. There's one growing out the bottom here that I've got to prune off. It's just growing too straight down. It's not radial. Let's get that untangled. There. There's one here. You can see it grows out, curls around, and comes back. So I'm going to prune it off here. Get rid of that. Another one here. It's hit the side of the pot. You can see it's curled around with the pot, so I'll prune it back to here, and it may even come off further once we get underneath here. Prune off some of these ones going straight down. So that's getting better on the bottom. A few up top here, got to prune away. One's sticking up there. Let me just get out my root rake. Do a little combing out here. So it's fairly one-sided because it was kind of offset in the pot a bit. So these roots up here, they're a little high. I'll have to prune those away. And possibly that one too, it's too high. Even though my root system kind of undercuts a bit down lower, it'll thicken up. It'll, you can see how it undercuts here. Once these roots thicken up, it'll fix itself. Take that crossing one off there. That one back, cut these back a bit. And I think that's about all I can do this time, which is quite a bit. I think that's really going to improve the way the root system grows and thicken up the base of the tree. Not too bad. I think I'm quite happy with that as a first root pruning. Here's the pot I'll be planting it in. There's lots of room for root growth. At least for, maybe 1 or 2 years anyway, and then it might have to go to a larger, shallower pot. So I'll get some drainage screens in the bottom. We'll get a base layer of soil in and plant the tree. I've got my drainage screens in the bottom, so now I can fill it with soil. So here I go. So I want to fill it about 3/4 of the way up, plant the tree, and then fill the rest in. So I think maybe just a little higher. Don't want it too low in the pot. I think somewhere there is good. Now I will have to comb out these roots one final time. That's looking good. Just put a little bit of soil around it. Like that. And then I'll work that soil in just a little bit. Looking good. A little more soil. Just lifting the tree slightly as I work the soil in. Nice. More soil. I think that'll do it. I don't want the soil up too high on the trunk, otherwise you get more fine roots growing out. You want all your roots to grow down at the level you want the root base to begin. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Tree's nice and firm in there. I think I'm ready to water the tree. All right, here I go with the water. That's flowing out the bottom now. And that should be good. My priority for this tree now is to develop that root system. I've got it started, it's underway. So I want to just let the top of the tree grow wild this summer so it gets lots of root growth that fills this pot. So the next time I go to repot this tree, I'll have more roots to choose from. And I can further develop that nice radial root system that tapers down and flows down into the soil. And the top of the tree, the styling will come later on in the tree's life. That's not a priority right now. My priority is developing that root system. The only reason I can repot a lot of these trees this early in the year is because I have them in the greenhouse. It's kind of a controlled environment. I can heat it at night if the temperature is dropping below freezing. So I can kind of control the temperature in here until the true spring arrives outdoors. Here is a preview of videos that will be coming soon. I'm going to be repotting a lot of the trees that I bought at the nursery, and they'll be going into bonsai soil for the first time, getting their first true bonsai root pruning, and into a smaller container. Without a fine, fibrous root system that fills your bonsai pot, you can't develop a complex branch structure on the top of the tree. The root system kind of mirrors the above growth, so if you have a good bonsai root system, you can have a good bonsai canopy. You can't have a big complex canopy and just a few roots in your pot. So it's a process that takes a while to develop. You've got to get that root system developing and develop the top of the tree at the same time so the two stay in balance. Here's an update to my boxwoods that I root pruned and potted earlier this year. I planted a lot of cuttings. So far they're green. You can see on the boxes there's a lot of new buds popping out all over them, so that's looking good so far. I hope everything survives the cuttings and the main trees. There's 2 trees that had roots and the rest are cuttings. Everything is greening up in the greenhouse nicely. All my thujas are getting their green color on them again. Everything's starting to bud out. The only trees that haven't got their kind of summer color are my giant sequoias down here. They're still, healthy looking. They're flexible and they look good. They're just still in their kind of bronze color. You see that? There's a bit of dieback on that one, but all the rest look really healthy. So I'm just waiting for them to flush out with their green color again. So hopefully that'll come soon, because I don't like them being that color when it's kind of getting warmer in the greenhouse here. The repotting will continue here in the greenhouse. I've been starting off with some of the younger seedlings, and I'll be progressing into the nursery stock and then eventually into some of the more refined bonsai. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.